This video is brought to you by viewers like you. Thanks for letting me do this for so long. Every new Pikmin game is like a national holiday. I'd be down for making that happen. It's not like it happens all that often anyway. Somehow Pikmin 3 was 10 years ago. But when Nintendo remember that this franchise exists for long enough to make a new game, it's always a big deal. Certainly if it was up to Shigeru Miyamoto, Nintendo would exclusively pump out as much Pikmin as possible, so Pikmin 4 finally seeing the light of day after being virtually ready to go for 8 years deserves to be celebrated like the momentous occasion that it is. I've played most of this game now and may well do some rankings on it if I find enough exciting things to talk about, but for now I really fancy ranking all the Pikmin types. We've come a long way since the first Pikmin game had just the 3 different variants, so I'd like to make some sense out of all these weird and wonderful Pikmin types and work out which one's the best. Yeah, I'll rank strange alien vegetables, you fucking watch me! When you're looking over all of the Pikmin types, the common garden variety does stick out a bit, and so unfortunately, I think the worst Pikmin are actually the red ones. Now don't get it twisted, every type of Pikmin can do the basic tasks really well, and there isn't a single version that I would describe as bad, but I think there's a reason why every Pikmin game opens up by giving you the red boys to play with. Red Pikmin are perhaps the least interesting of all the Pikmin types, which makes them perfect for the tutorial and the opening minutes until you find something more exciting, but even then the red Pikmin have unique traits that make them very useful in the right scenarios. The problem is that these situations don't present themselves all that often, and if it wasn't for all the fire-based enemies in the game, they'd have a really hard time finding their niche. Red Pikmin do, however, have one of the highest attack strengths in the franchise, so they'll do more damage to enemies that you chuck them on, but I feel like that's not as significant an upside given that the preferred method of defeating enemies is to overwhelm them with dozens of Pikmin, a strategy that works pretty effectively regardless of Pikmin color. I don't know, they're good, but they don't have the vast utility of other types, so the red Pikmin are technically the worst variant of Pikmin. Although they're closely followed by a version that promised a lot, but wasn't quite able to follow through on everything that rock Pikmin could be. The basic upsides are that rock Pikmin are incredibly durable because, you know, rocks and stuff, which means that they're quite hard to kill with blunt force and are only really in danger against enemies that eat Pikmin. They're pretty strong, but because they don't latch onto enemies like other Pikmin, the bouncing off they do means that their DPS isn't any better than other variants, so they're actually a Pikmin designed more so with defense in mind. That's fine, and it's useful to have at least one variety of Pikmin that is hard to kill in a game where your friendly units often feel extremely fragile, but the usability of rock Pikmin doesn't extend too far beyond being the only guys who can break through crystal barriers. I don't know what you'd change about them to give them more of a niche, to be honest. Oh no, now we'll have to make Pikmin 5. If rock Pikmin are the defensive powerhouses that can't be killed easily, white Pikmin go for the kamikaze approach of taking down any creatures stupid enough to eat one, because these fuckers are poisonous. It's a significant trait that also has them as one of the few Pikmin variants that are immune to poisonous gas clouds whenever they turn up, and it gives the white Pikmin a role that you can't exactly skirt around with any other flavor. They are mostly underused in this franchise, I gotta say. Poison isn't exactly the most abundant of hazards, and given that they've only ever been available for general use in Pikmins 2 and 4, they haven't had a ton of airtime. Outside of poison hazards and getting eaten, white Pikmin are weak but fast, which is great for moving treasure, but not great for punching bad guys. Hey, when your most effective battle strategy is to die, you might want to rethink things a bit. Hey guys, real quick, my channel has been approved for YouTube memberships now, so if you fancy supporting my channel more directly, you can become a member for as little as £1 a month and gain access to some nifty perks, as well as being featured on my channel page. Hit the join button below this video if that sounds cool to you. Thank you, and let's get back to the video. I'll be honest, I still haven't worked out how I should feel about winged Pikmin. This was always going to happen, and I'm a little surprised that it took until the 3rd game for Nintendo to introduce a Pikmin type that can fly, but the benefits aren't as obvious as you might think. Clearly, having a Pikmin fly is so handy because it means that you don't have to be so worried about all the problems that grounded Pikmin have to face every day, and when delivering treasure, they can just fly in a mostly straight line back to your ship. They aren't all that strong, and this means that they carry stuff slower than other Pikmin, but it also means that they aren't very useful in a fight. You'd think they'd be your go-to Pikmin for aerial combat, and while they make it easier to hit them, they don't do increased damage to flying enemies or anything like that. So they're a Pikmin designed for specific jobs that doesn't have to worry about all the fire and water that other Pikmins have to think twice about, so are they good? They're good if you don't have enemies to fight and need to move things quickly. Anything else? Not too sure myself. Glow Pikmin are probably the most unique type of Pikmin that we've talked about, or at least the most unique type that we've talked about so far. And that's because these luminescent little fellas are only available during night expeditions and during trips through caves if you have the flow seeds for them. They are very strange mechanically and exhibit several characteristics that call into question their relation to the Pikmin species. You don't grow them from pellets or dead enemies, they kind of materialize out of nowhere once you put some glow pellets into your big dirt mound, and then they teleport over to you when you've made more of them. In combat, they are about as strong as most Pikmin, but the interesting part is that their charge mechanic is radically different. They coalesce into a big glowy ball that stuns enemies and lets the glow Pikmin dogpile shortly after. They're functionally immortal to standard hazards, so they're a little overpowered if you fancy using them in a cave, but you can tell that they weren't truly designed to be used outside of the night missions, which makes me reluctant to use them since they are a pain to replace if you lose them. But damn, I do love how they look. That blue eye seems familiar. There's an argument to be made that blue Pikmin are the best of the original trilogy of colours, almost by default, because whereas yellow and red Pikmin are situationally useful depending on what level you're in and what game you're playing and what it is you're doing, blue Pikmin have one of the simplest skill sets of any variant. They can survive in water. This is gigantic news, and a skill that has been helpful in every single Pikmin since, at some point, usually sometime after the midway point of the game, Pikmin games decide that everything should either be underwater or separated by a river. Blue Pikmin are so valuable since the level design funnels you towards needing lots of them since they aren't all that amazing at anything else, but you need dozens and dozens of them since if there's a boss fight located on an island, you're not getting any help from any other variants. They're a strange colour to talk about because other than water resistance, there's nothing special going on here at all, but the games have made them a necessity due to the abundance of water. Other Pikmin can avoid water, but only the blues can thrive in it. Across all of the games, there has never been a variety of Pikmin that has been as consistently good and useful as yellow Pikmin. In Pikmin 1, they were straight up the best type in the game since they could carry bomb rocks and were like the demolition experts of that game. And even though their powers have waned somewhat in the succeeding years, these yellow friends have still been able to carve out their own specialities. Electric resistance is a given and was a necessary addition in Pikmin 2 to make up for the lack of usable bomb rocks, but electricity is an insta-kill for other Pikmin, making yellows really valuable for so many enemy encounters. Pikmin 3 made them dig a lot faster than their cousins, and when you compare all of these handy skills along with the fact that you have always been able to throw them significantly higher than other versions, there's actually a ton of different scenarios where yellow Pikmin are borderline essential to bring with you. Electricity isn't quite the deadly hazard that it used to be, but in Pikmin 1 and 2 especially, these guys are having the time of their lives, and building an army of yellow Pikmin is practically essential as a buffer to the more challenging moments and boss fights. You can never underestimate how valuable being able to throw Pikmin so high is, especially for boss fights. The second new flavour of Pikmin added in Pikmin 4 fares a lot better than their glowy friends because you can actually find Ice Pikmin in the main areas of the game, which is very handy because these guys are a lot more helpful than I ever thought they would be. They're one of the most elemental Pikmin types around, so they immediately have favourable synergies with water and have great survivability in cold environments or when faced with ice-based enemies. They have two major influences on moment-to-moment gameplay in Pikmin 4. The first is that despite being a little less geared towards offense, Ice Pikmin are terrifyingly efficient in combat, since their attacks will fill this light blue circle, and when that's done, that enemy is frozen and can't do a damn thing until it shakes off the frost. The big jellyfish guys die instantly when you freeze them, so you can roll up with the crew and ruin their day. The other massive thing that Ice Pikmin can do is freeze the surface of water, which bypasses the need for blue Pikmin by allowing every Pikmin type to cross bodies of water so long as you've got enough Ice Pikmin to chill out for a bit. It gives you a lot of flexibility over how you explore your environment, and it means that you're not as reliant on blue Pikmin. I support cracking open a boy with the cold ones. The research for this video has resurfaced a long dormant part of my brain that held the cursed knowledge that Bulbmin were once a thing in these games. They're exclusive to Pikmin 2 and even more exclusive to a handful of underground caves in that game, so we're talking about a Pikmin variant that really hasn't had a lot of time to show what it can do. Bulbmin are the result of a parasitic form of Pikmin infecting a Bulborb and parading its host around, which is 100% as horrifying as it sounds. Especially since Bulbmin start out hostile and will try to eat other Pikmin if given the chance. But hey, if you kill the adult, all of its children will fall in line and do your bidding. Wow, that's fucking creepy. Bulbmin are special since they're resistant to every hazard in Pikmin 2, even the insta-kill electricity, and this immediately gives them immense value as a really versatile Pikmin type. The bad news is that you can't take them with you when you exit a cave, but the good news is that they are the perfect candidates to convert into a Pikmin type that can leave the cave. So you can turn a parasitic Pikmin that lives inside a Bulborb into a normal, non-parasitic Pikmin. What an eventful life these guys must lead. There's only one Pikmin type that I would describe as overpowered and a little too strong for their own good, and purple Pikmin reek of a concept that was thrown around for a little while in the dev team, but not long enough for anyone to stop and think, hey, should we have a color of Pikmin that can carry 10 times as much as the others? Yeah, that's fine, is it? Okay, what about a Pikmin type that stuns enemies whenever you throw them so you don't have to attack in a different way or anything? You're just heavily rewarded for doing what you were doing before? Like white Pikmin, they're only available in Pikmin 2 and 4's main stories since Pikmin 3 decided they were way too strong for some reason. And in 2 and 4, they are required in order to transport some particularly heavy treasures. The one downside is that they're the slowest Pikmin type by far, but since Pikmin 4 has a dog now, you can move them around on the back of it and you don't really notice any drawbacks to using them. If you've got a tricky boss to fight or a hefty treasure to take back home, you'd be a fool to leave them behind. And that's all the Pikmin until they make more in like 20 years. Do you agree, or is there another Pikmin you would have at number 1? Let me know in a comment down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like and hit subscribe for more, and hit that bell for notifications of every upload. If you need something else to watch right now, last week I talked about creative map boundaries in video games. And I also want to thank my top supporters on Patreon, including Blue Catarade, Sarah Malion, and Fusion Warrior. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Take care.